Yo, what's going on, you guys? Your boy Ben Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. I hope y'all been having a good week thus far, and hope y'all been enjoying these 2021 NBA Finals. Right now, as of we're standing, we are now tied at 2 games apiece as we head to Game 5 back in Phoenix on Saturday night after Giannis and Middleton lead Milwaukee to a critical Game 4 victory, 109 to 103 to tie up the series, as I said, to 2 games apiece. So I wanted to particularly talk about, my thoughts on the game last night. It was a very, very close game. I really felt that Phoenix was going to come with some good energy, and they pretty much did in the first half. You know what I'm saying? And they really did an excellent job of moving the basketball and getting into their offense a little bit. But Devin Booker, who struggled in game three, only scored 10 points, came back with a vengeance, was scoring 42 points and hitting 17 to 28 shots. Um, the issue that was going on with I saw with the Phoenix Suns was that they were making hasty mistakes early on in the game, and in that first half of play, um, they were turning the ball over a lot. They had 7 turnovers in the first half compared to Milwaukee's 2. Now, when you look at the entire progression of the game, it got worse. The the Phoenix Suns turned the ball over 10 times compared to Milwaukee's 3 turnovers. So the issue that I saw was is that the Milwaukee Bucks made a very good adjustment to their lineup. Now, they did start, Brook Lopez in the starting lineup, of course, but the majority of the minutes down the stretch went to Bobby Portis because Mike Budenholzer, you know, at times to me, it's just he's just unorganized in terms of what he wants out of his offense. But he made a critical adjustment in that game that really, has helped save their season because Brook Lopez only played 19 minutes in game four, while Bobby Portis, on the other hand, for the majority of the game, played 20 minutes. And so, really, in all honesty, their best lineup on the floor is when they have Drew Holiday with Middleton in the backcourt with Giannis and then PJ Tucker and also with Bobby Portis. And the reason is that, when you take away Brook Lopez, out of the starting lineup, they got 5 guys on the floor that can pretty much move defensively and can match up Phoenix Suns in terms of their foot speed. When adding Brook Lopez on the floor, it becomes much more complicated for Milwaukee's defense because Brook Lopez is slow footed. Now, that's not to say that Bobby Portis is not that athletic either, but at the same time, he's much better athletically, to match up against the Phoenix Suns right now because he can pretty much match with his foot speed, and they can go bit of a smaller lineup, putting Giannis at the 5. I've always been saying throughout the series that their best lineup is when they put Giannis at the 5, uh, Bobby Portis at the 4, PJ Tucker at the 3, and then having your starting backcourt with Holiday and with Middleton. And so, really, Mike Budenholzer deserves some credit for making that critical adjustment, in the second half. Because what happened was that anytime that the Phoenix Suns try to go into their high pick and roll sets, now with Brook Lopez out of the picture, they can't exploit the mismatch. So now they're now into situations where now they can trap more and they can press on the backcourt a little bit more. Now, yes, Devin Booker had his points, but he was in foul trouble the whole night. And I gotta say, Devin Booker got away with the 2 calls, late in the fourth quarter that should have fouled him out of the game. I mean, he had both situations where he pretty much clobbered, any of the Milwaukee Bucks players from hitting the layup. First it was Drew Holiday, then Middleton, and he should have been fouled out of the game twice. I don't know what the referees were looking at, but the Milwaukee Bucks stood firm. And also, I got to say, I have been very, very impressed with Khris Middleton, in this postseason because he's finally woken up from the criticism he's been receiving over the last couple of seasons. Because we all know how much Khris Middleton, can really do well in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, he sometimes disappears when his team needs him the most, especially when Giannis is pretty much receiving all the attention. So I really liked how, Khris Middleton was efficient offensively. He looked to be aggressive. And more importantly, Giannis was looking for him to be aggressive. That's the key part in the whole this. Because Giannis realized that, listen, Khris Middleton is the main important part because he knows that he's going to get his points and gets his usual production. But if they didn't get anything out of Khris Middleton, they knew that they were going to lose the game. And he finished with a playoff career high with 40 points, and he grabbed at least 6 rebounds and had 4 assists. Excellent numbers from Khris Middleton. Now, Giannis had his usual 26 points and 14 rebounds and 8 assists. Effective numbers. Then Drew Holiday stepped up. Although he shot 4 of 20, he scored 13 points, but he was a defensive presence. He was a defensive force in the backcourt, particularly when he was pressuring Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Okay, Chris Paul really was trying to just forcing the issue a lot, and he was turning the ball over quite a ton. He had about 5 turnovers the whole game. You know what I'm saying? And so really the Phoenix Suns when they didn't had to deal with with Brook Lopez on the floor to exploit his lack of mobility on the defensive end, they became much more confused offensively. Now the Phoenix Suns are now being challenged for the second time this postseason, because remember they went tied 2-2 against the previous defending champion Lakers before they came back and closed out the series in six. But I heard some people that that thought that the Phoenix Suns are done now that it's going to be tied at 2-2. I don't believe that at all. I think this is going to be. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to recognize that. Listen, they need to spread the court a bit more, and instead of running more pick and roll, what I mean, run a little bit more of the flare screen isolation plays for your guards. Try to get them involved, because you know. Anytime they went to that pick and roll, they went at it with success. But the thing was, when Brook Lopez was on the floor, they didn't have to worry about that, because the thing was, Brook Lopez does not come out and challenge the ball handler on that screen. Now, when you add Giannis and Bobby Portis into the front line, Giannis is able to play in the backcourt and basically move his feet laterally against the guards. So now, if you're Monty Williams, what you're gonna have to figure out an adjustment is, how do you counter with the Milwaukee Bucks' other smaller lineup. You know what I mean? When you put Giannis at the five, because now when you have Giannis at the five and Portis at the four, you have much more of an athletic, front line that can move laterally defensively. And so really it's going to come down to is, how can the Phoenix Suns adjust to that lineup? And I think you're going to see maybe a little bit more of the flare screen type of plays, to get the guards, involved, and also the bench for the Phoenix Suns has got to show up a little bit more in the fifth game, because if they don't, it's going to be a very, very difficult time for the Phoenix Suns to win a game. And so, congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks, and they really did an outstanding job, of playing much better defense. Even though the Phoenix Suns, scored 103 points, they really had to work hard to get those points. And so the key factor for the Milwaukee Bucks is that in game five, when the series hits back to the Valley of the Desert, they have to get off to a good start. And also, they must control the backcourt, both the backcourt of Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Now, they're going to get their point. If you're going to let these guys get their points, that means you got to shut down the other guys. All right. Now, listen, I kind of saw some people that didn't like how Devin Booker was reacting. How sometimes there were some calls that weren't getting his way. It just is what it is. That's just players reacting in terms of the key in the moment. But I think we're going to see less of that as the series shifts back to Phoenix for Game 5. I honestly think right now this series could possibly go 7. The way that this series is being patterned now, no road team has submerged in this series as of yet, but we're gonna see what happens as the Bucks return back to Phoenix. What I mean, the thing that I'm going to be more anxious is that on the road you need your other starters to step up. Okay, you need Middleton to play like he did in Game 4. You're going to need to make sure that Giannis doesn't have to worry about carrying the entire load. You know what I'm saying? And also, Drew Holiday's got to shoot the ball better. He's shooting at least between 25 to 30% in the series. He got to shoot the ball better. You know what I'm saying? And also, for the Milwaukee Bucks, though, too, to win this game as well, they have to establish a defensive, tone to start out the game, letting the Suns know that they're not going to get any shots easily now. And so that's what I'm hoping to see, on Saturday night. For the Phoenix Suns, they have to take care of the ball better, and they have to do a better job of making the sound passes, and also not try to force the issue a lot. Because what I noticed in the two games that they lost, when they were in trouble, they said when they tried to force the issue, or when they tried to overpass a lot. And when you're playing with a pass, pass first type of offense, it's good to always make the extra pass. But when you have the open shot, you got to take that shot. And so, you can't rely on your backcourt of the Suns to try to bail you out when the offense, stagnates. So what I hope to see is that they need to move the ball better, but also they don't need to overpass. You know what I mean? All they need to do is just when the shot's open and when it's there, just take it. All right, and also better movement too. They got to continue to basically quicken the pace a little bit more because when if the Bucks can play a slower game against the Suns, that's going to favor Milwaukee. You know what I mean? Because they play better in a slow, methodical game as opposed to a fast, paced up game like the Phoenix Suns typically like to play. And so we're going to see. The series is now tied up at 2-2. I really like what I'm seeing out of both of these teams right now, and it's going to come down to who wants it more because when you're entering the fifth and sixth games and possibly seven, you can do all the adjustments and all the necessary things you've done throughout the series goes out the window. It's going to come down to who's going to make the big plays, who's going to take and make the big shots, and who wants it more. That's going to decide who's going to win the championship. So strap up your seatbelts, guys, because we're going to be in for a hellacious ride towards who's going to come out with the advantage and become one victory away from an NBA championship. But that's just my 2 cents. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. And with that, I'm out. Peace.